I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, June the 18th, brought to you in part by Zactran. Stress, and that includes heat stress, opens the gate to bovine respiratory disease. Slam it shut with Zactran. Remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. For more information, visit with your BI representative or go to Zactran.com. Corn limit down, and I don't just mean one contract. I mean on Chicago Board of Trade, your corn was limit down for every contract through July 2022. And a lot of people are saying it was just a weather market because we got forecasts for rain in some of your driest regions of the corn belt there, but it's got to be more than just a weather market, guys. Down the 40-cent limit, just contract after contract after contract. A lot of it has to do with the Fed's been doing some talking here. People are expecting the dollar to get stronger. When the dollar gets stronger, that hurts our exports. But we've had about enough exporting of our grains this year so far. Especially to China, and also China's talking about reeling in a little bit of that and trying to cut down on a lot of that. So that probably has something to do with it. Your funds were having a mass exodus of your commodities on Thursday there. A lot of things went in, and the hell of it is whenever you get to rolling down or up, whichever direction you go, those computer algorithms take over, and then it just rushes to the end, and they're getting these daily limits on all of your commodities so big, it's enough to take people's heads off, guys. I've talked to a lot of guys that's gotten on the wrong side of the board, whether they were just dabbling around in it or they were trying to protect a hedge or protect a long position in the cash market or something, that have really got bitten hard because these daily limits are so large. But your corn was limit down for every contract that's traded through July 2022, I told you, and that's 40 cents a contract. July old crop ended the day on Thursday at 6.33. December new crop ended at 5.32 and a half. And so you think, well, that's still up there pretty good. I mean, historically. But if you remember here back a couple of months ago, maybe 2 to 3 months ago, people were talking about some crazy stuff. Your commodity analysts, and a lot of them were pretty well publicized. They were saying, oh my gosh, this corn is just going to get completely out of hand. And they were projecting of what a corn per bushel price would be. And guys were putting these wild ideas out there. They were saying that corn was going to be, 8, 10, 12 and a half, 15, and I mean, just crazy. It's unbelievable how high they were trying to get. Maybe some guys $20 a bushel. And those of us that are realistic knew that wasn't going to happen, but whenever you see that in print, somebody that's supposed to know what they're talking about, it's crazy. Well, we know that's not going to happen. Well, if you'd asked me or anybody that knows something, we'd have told you it wasn't going to happen before. But I had a lot of people sending me that stuff, making like corn was going to get to those levels. No. How about your beans? July beans, how about a down here? Now, what if you were on the long side of July beans? They were down $1.18 3/4 cents. Unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. I don't think anybody else has either. Whenever you're trading a commodity in quarters of a cent, you wouldn't think that would be able to move more than $1. $1.18 3/4. So July beans ended the day at $13.29 3/4. Ouch. That was for the old crop. November beans down 90.5 cents at $12.52 3/4. And it's just unbelievable how much some of this stuff can move. And you feel bad for the guys that didn't sell, half their crop over the last couple of months. You would have thought most of them would. And I hope you guys that are watching did. If you're a diversified cattle and grain farmer there, I sure hope you sold at least half your crop, not all of it. But wow, that's a big deal. But and you would have thought that would have really helped your cattle. Well, it did keep your feeder cattle from tanking But you know, like I said, your commodities were all lower on Thursday, and your live cattle were down pretty hard. But you know, we've been having a good week all week so far, and you know, we had the big Corn Belt Classic Superior Livestock Auction. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit more, but it was a good week to lead up to that. I want to talk about something big that's happening. And I keep telling you guys, just about every visit I've been telling you something new that's happening. Some kind of a letter that's been sent, some kind of a bill that's been introduced. We've got the ear of Washington, D.C. We've got to do something with it. The Senate Ag Committee is having a hearing about cattle market problems, lack of competition, whatever, the things that has led to this big disparage between what the consumers are paying for beef and what your cattle producers are getting for it. And so we're having a Senate Ag Committee hearing. This is a big, big deal. I told you guys on our last visit that I thought it was going to be next week. It's almost like I knew. It's on Wednesday, 2:30 in the afternoon. I assume that's Eastern time. On Wednesday, next Wednesday, and I think they've got it where you can get on there and watch it. I'll have to share that on social media there, but it's going to be a big, big deal. This is our chance to get the word out on what's going on to try to get something forward, maybe get one of these bills passed or something. It's a little bit disappointing in the group that they've got to come in and testify. Most of them are guys that aren't apt to really push for anything except for one. But I'll give you the list. They're going to have a Rabobank analyst. I assume that's going to be Don Close. Dr. Tonzer from Kansas State University. You don't see your academia people really get out on the edge and offer or push for big changes. Dr. Hendrickson from Mizzou. She's probably she's against the Packer monopoly, but probably not apt to really say anything too off the wall. Mark Gardner of Gardner Angus, and he's also chairman of U.S. Premium Beef. Well, U.S. Premium Beef, you know, they've got a big percentage of one of Marfrig's plants there, and they're basically a packer. Well, if you've owned shares of U.S. Premium Beef, which a lot of those people in Kansas there that don't want to see any changes, they've got significant shares of it. You have been raking cash in with a leaf rake. And so you've been really enjoying it. So not apt to really want to change anything there. You know, the first one I gave you, Rabobank, they have oodles and oodles of offshore money to loan people to feed cattle. Well, they're not going to be loaning it to your farmer feeders per se. They're loaning it to these guys that's got 2 or 3, 4, 5 big feedlots. And so they're not apt to really want to change things too much either. Somebody that does, good friend of mine. He's the incoming at the end of the towards the end of the year president of U.S. Cattlemen's Association, Justin Tupper, and he owns St. Onge Livestock in St. Onge, South Dakota. Runs a Newell Sheep Barn over there too. And I tell you what, he knows, and he's a good guy. Now this is not his cup of tea. I mean, he doesn't testify at big hearings on Washington, D.C. on the Hill very often, but I think he's going to do a great job. I've been around and seen him kind of officiate some meetings, conference calls all the time. He does an excellent job. You know, he's his country has a turnip green, but he's polite. He understands the industry. He's sincere about it. He's got a passion for it. He understands that his auction barn, you know, is not going to be as successful the fewer players that we have in this business, and he knows, you know, all the way through, even on the feeding sector too. You know, if we keep losing the people that even want to retain ownership or feed cattle or invest in feeding cattle, if we continue to lose that, there's going to be fewer buyers of these big feeding cattle going into the feedlot. So I'm excited that Justin Tupper is going to get a chance to you know, get in there and testify. And when I first started talking about this some type of a mandated minimum negotiated cash trade deal when I first started talking about it, and that's likely when a lot of you guys first started hearing about it. Now, some of these state associations and groups have had policy for some type of a minimum mandate push for quite a while, but when I first started talking about it and we really started pushing it hard, it was a conversation that I had with Justin Tupper at a U.S. Cattlemen's Association event. Lee Richmond was there, a lot of guys were there, but we were sitting there having an adult beverage at Jake's Steakhouse in downtown Billings, if you guys have been there. And that's whenever we got it in our head that we were going to push this until we couldn't push it no more. And we've been doing it and been going on here for a couple of years. Justin's been right in the middle of it. I mean, he's got a passion for it, like I said, and I think he's going to perform, and I think he will be the testimony to listen to, and hopefully he has some bearing on the committee there, and hopefully we can go ahead and get some of these pushed through. I think Charles Grassley is going to play right into his hands, you know, with any comments or questions. I'm really looking forward to watching that and seeing the results of it. And guys, this is how things get done. So we're pushing towards that. Let's talk about your board. On Thursday, June live cattle futures down $2.20 at 120.10. August down 382. Now these are big losses, but we've seen some big gains this week too, so don't get too nervous here. August down 382 at 121.10. Fat cattle continue to go up. You know, a lot of your guys that saw the June spot live cattle go down $2.20 were tickled to death because they were getting 124 for their fat cattle, picking up another couple of bucks there on their hedge on the basis, so they weren't too upset about it. They just don't want it to linger. Your back months on your live cattle down 240 to 340. August feeder cattle, and I told you with corn being down so hard, it kept your feeder cattle from tanking, but it was still down. Of course, you know, it was getting pressure from live cattle and then pressure as a whole because your funds were getting out of commodities at a big rate on Thursday. But August feeder cattle down just 30 cents at 157.40. Didn't hurt your Corn Belt Classic Superior video there. It was a whiz bang. September down 70, 159.10. You go on your back months, down 32 to up 77, and all your 2022 contracts were up. Fat cattle trade, we had a little bit more trade on Thursday. We had it, didn't have much on Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we had trade. Iowa, 1,100 head confirmed, about 14,000 for the week. 124 to 125 live price, pretty good, 2 to 4 bucks higher. 192 to 195 dressed. Nebraska, 2,500 head confirmed on Thursday, about 19,500 head confirmed for the week. Live sales $124, dress sales $195 to $2 a pound dress, guys. 200 bucks by the hundredweight there. We haven't seen that for a long time. That'd be $7 higher than the best we saw last week. But and it wasn't likely on that many deals, but it was there, was confirmed, did happen. $195 to $2 a pound dressed. Big gains this week, guys. Kansas, 2 loads is all that they had confirmed on Thursday. 22,100 head, which is pretty light. For the week, 122 live, and that's $2 higher. Texas did not have any confirmed sales, only 6,800 head for the week. The 75% of a robust market deal that NCBA has calls for nearly 10,000 head a week. So, you know, if we don't get something done here on Friday, there's another trigger. So I wouldn't think, with all the triggers we've tripped all over the place here the last few months, I wouldn't think you'd get too much fight out of NCBA on getting something done here. How about your box beef cutout values? Continuing lower. It's a seasonal deal. They're going to go lower, but like I told you in the last couple of visits, there's no need to back off of this fat cattle market. You know, when the guys are making 1,200 bucks a head, make them share a little bit of that. Choice cuts, 326.25, down 292 for the session. It's been in a week's time, your choice cuts are down about 12 bucks. That's a big move, but it's not a big percentage. If you look at how much they've inflated those price levels. Select 287.24 down 272 for the day's session, and your Select cut's down about $23 in the last week. That is a ton, but like I said, not a big percentage. Your Slaughter, pretty excited about that 477,000 head harvest so far for the week through Thursday. If we have a big Saturday, I tell you what, it could be some more good fundamental news that'll keep us rolling. But that 477,000 through Thursday is 1,000 more than last week, 6,000 more than the same week a year ago. What else is going on? Let's talk about that Corn Belt Classic by Superior Livestock that they held up there in Council Bluffs, it's always a big first video of the summer season. I told you on our last visit how many we've got coming. I want to give you a couple of lots there. Of course, there's a jillion of them we could talk about, and it's just getting to the point where if you're going to sell on the big videos, and I don't care if you're talking about Superiors or Westerns or Northerns, if you're going to sell on one of those big videos, you better have your cattle in a program. And because that's where the big money's at, that's where they're looking for, and they've all got their little icons or logos on there, and they're looking for those, especially NHTC, non-hormone treated cattle, or verified natural. Natural's great, got to be verified natural from a third-party entity. And then if you really want to pull down on that slot machine lever, you're going to have to get the GAP 4. Now, you got to jump through several hoops to get that, but man, when you do, the premiums are real, guys. And I want to tell you about one of those that's a fairly current delivery. There weren't a whole lot of current delivery cattle, especially index type cattle, the 7 to 899 pound cattle. Not a lot of those. I mean, there would have been a lot more index cattle in El Reno on Wednesday than there was on the Superior's Corn Belt Classic. But that's what they feature is future delivery cattle there. But I want to tell you about one deal. Pioneer Ranch, which is Rusty and Rachel Kemp there from Tryon, Nebraska. Man, they've got good cattle, and they've got program cattle, and they're ranch raised, and they're predominantly Angus, and they're right, and they're fancy, and they've got all the bells and whistles, and they had 252 head of them to weigh 785 pounds just here the first week of July. July the 2nd is the delivery date. Those cattle had nothing but Sandhills grass out of the Sandhills in Nebraska there, and that's what people want to buy, is green cattle with programs on them. These cattle were NHTC, they were verified natural, they were GAP 4, 252 head of them, weigh 785 pounds at $180. There's your premium, guys. Don't keep telling me that there's no premiums in the cattle business, only discounts. If you want to do the work and you want to go through and jump through all the hoops and get everything done, then their premiums are real and they're there. They had 51,000 head on this video in just a one-day video, and in the past it's been more than one day. But I think there's fewer cattle out there. They had a lot of dairy cross steers. That's getting to be kind of a big deal. These calf ranches, they call them. A lot of people do. The dairy deal has changed up a lot. So all that breeding is done artificially, and so they're bringing mostly Angus sires in to impregnate these dairy cows, and the milk tastes just as good if it's out of a half Angus calf as it is with just a straight up Holstein. So you're seeing a lot of these cattle, and they're really getting these homozygous blacks in there and getting predominantly solid black calves. They sold a ton of them on there. A lot of dairies in the Southwest had a lot of those half-blood dairy cross cattle in there, and they sell really well. And they had programs on them, and the programs would launch those cattle over what your top beef cattle could bring right now. So that's a big deal too. But another one that stuck out to me was some commodity cattle. And I got to tell you about commodity cattle. We can't go on and talk about program cattle all the time to be like talking about how horses sell or something like that. Can't write a paragraph about every one of them, but here's some commodity cattle. And I told you they would have a few Flint Hills cattle on there, and they did have a few, so we're starting to establish what they're going to be asking for these Flint Hills cattle. And you know, in another month or so they're going to start moving a lot of those, because you don't have much time out there. About 90 days you got to make hay, but they've had sunshine, the grass looks good out there, they've had plenty of moisture, cattle doing good. Vaughn Ranch and D&D Cattle there, they had some cattle turned out at Granola, Kansas, which is on the south end of the Flint Hills there, south and east of Wichita. But just commodity cattle, of course, you know, really good cattle, mostly black. You know, a few solid colored cattle on them. That's kind of what you'll see in the Flint Hills for the most part. Of course, there will be some crossbreds out there too, and they might get bigger than any of them. But just eating that blue stem Flint Hill grass out there and some mineral, that's what people want, is green cattle right there. But no other bells and whistles on them. They were purchased cattle, so you know you're not going to have any kind of a origin deal on them. They were implanted. And just commodity cattle, but good commodity cattle there. Now they're going to come right when the double stock cattle come off, July the 24th. And they did have a weight stop on them, so they were pegged at 885. If they weigh over 910, you only have to pay for the 910 pounds, and you get all the rest of that for free. And as good as they're doing out there, you know, there's a chance they could do that, but I'm sure they probably threw a few in a trailer and went and checked the weight on them. But you know, their eye's not that good. But some commodity Flint Hills cattle coming off the double stock at the end of July. It's commodity type cattle, 320 of them, weighed 885 at $150. So that's what people are going to be asking for their cattle, and a lot of them are going to be based at 900 pounds coming off the Flint Hills. So they're going to want $150 for a 900-pound steer coming off there. That's what they're going to be asking. Most of them will sell private treaty. And then there's a lot of those feedlots that you know, try to get as many of those cattle in their feedlot as they can possibly get in, because those are the best doing cattle you can buy, bar none, anywhere. And so there'll be a big drive for them. You can basically step out on the Kansas Turnpike and flag a car down and sell those yearlings out of the Flint Hills. They're that easy to sell. Let's talk about your feeder market on Thursday. In your brick and mortar sale barns, your real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday at 142.29. That was up 82 cents. Big gains. We leapfrogged the CME cash feeder cattle index because we're getting so many cattle in there on the real-time index. Really good week of selling cattle. Talk about some of your big sales. Winter livestock, Pratt, Kansas, 2,200 head. It's finally tapered off there. They've moved almost all those cattle off the wheat there, so it's just about done, and then it'll be closing down for 4th of July before long, so just about right on the timing. Feeders, $6 to $8 higher. Wow. That's similar to what we saw in your Wednesday sales. Calves were not well tested. They had some really nice yearlings in there and kind of stick out deals. One of them, 55 head, 925 pound steers, 145.50. How about Belle Fourche, South Dakota? Belle Fourche Livestock Market, 82 head, 706 pound steers, bring $168. But the best quote that I saw anywhere out of a sale barn, and that's what I'm here to promote, sale barns, Billings Livestock Commission, BLS there, sold 50 head, 613 pound steers at $180. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.